Hello YouTubers, welcome to the last edition in chapter 16 of AP Vocabulary. We're going to be looking at 4 different words, and one of them I threw in there kind of just for fun, but they all have to do with Spanish military domination and early exploration and their ability to secure for themselves nearly exclusive rights to Latin America, which was this new world that was spoken of by Christopher Columbus. If you'd like to see a little bit more about the Columbian Exchange, please refer to a different video that I have labeled The Columbian Exchange. It was geared toward an American history class, but I think it'll work out pretty well for you. So let's look at 4 words. The first one is the Battle of Lepanto. The second one is Vasco de Balboa. Then we're going to look at 2 other conquistadors, Hernando Cortez and Francisco Pizarro. So we should be able to explain what the significance of each one of these guys are, and then the significance overall of what the Spanish conquistadors were able to accomplish. So the first one is the Battle of Lepanto. The Battle of Lepanto was the Spanish fleet taking on the Ottoman fleet in the Mediterranean Sea. And essentially, it was the Spanish beating the Ottomans in this sea battle, Lepanto, in 1571. This was important for Spain because it secured for them, for the most part, exclusive overseas trading west of the Mediterranean. And so the Ottomans were still active in trade, but they were kind of forced to go back to trading along the Silk routes, and then also in the Indian Ocean trade network, which they had been already engaged in, and in the Eastern Mediterranean to a minor degree. So it was important for the Spanish because it kept them able to control kind of a monopoly on trade west of the Mediterranean and in the Western Mediterranean. My little picture of this is pretty simple. Shows the Mediterranean Sea and the Spanish defeating the Ottomans in a naval battle. That should remind me of who they are. Now the next one that I'm looking at is, the next 3 are going to be Spanish explorers. And all these Spanish explorers were conquistadors. And these conquistadors were conquerors because they used, for the most part, military strategy to gain control of American colonies. So we're going to look at those 3, starting with Vasco de Balboa. Balboa was important because he was, well, the description of Balboa is he was a Spanish conquistador who established kind of a colony at capital city in Panama, modern-day Panama. And he was significant because he was one of the earliest Spanish conquerors, and he was also the first one to see the Pacific Ocean. And he saw the Pacific Ocean and claimed it for Spain, claimed the Pacific Ocean and all of its shores, which, of course, he had no idea how big these shores were, but from his viewpoint, the Pacific Ocean to the west of the Americas was a new body of water. Obviously, far on the end of those shores would be China and Japan and the Indies, but he claimed it for Spain. He didn't last too long in this new world, but here he is in Panama claiming the Pacific Ocean. There's Balboa, and there behind him is the Caribbean, where all those colonies and plantation colonies had been set up by the Spanish before. All right, following Balboa's example of military conquest of the peoples of the Americas are 2 conquerors, and these conquerors, these conquistadors, are Hernando Cortez or Hernán Cortez from Spain and Francisco Pizarro. So Cortez was able to defeat the Aztec Empire in central Mexico. That's what his description would be for the most basic part. He was able to conquer them because the Aztec were already kind of experiencing some issues with neighboring tribes who were restless about being underneath Aztec control. And so with the help of these native tribes allied with Cortez, he was able to come into Tenochtitlan, which is the capital of the Aztecs, and pretty quickly subdue the Aztecs because of his military superiority. So here he is, claiming victory over the Aztecs. That's a drawing of a horse. I shouldn't try to draw animals because they're not my specialty. Stick figures are really my specialty. So And then on the southern side of the Americas, we had Francisco Pizarro, another Spanish conqueror, who just a few years after Cortez decided to take a troop of soldiers down to the Incan Empire. And as they got closer, it was very apparent that they were going to be overwhelmed by these Inca, who were far numerous. It was something to the tune of 80,000 to 150 or 160 around there, Spanish soldiers. And so he was able to conquer the Incan Empire by a military strategy, which was surprise and ambush, and then captured Atahualpa, the Inca emperor, and then using the Incan emperor to subdue the peoples, and eventually killing the Incan emperor Atahualpa and basically claiming control over the peoples of the former Incan Empire. And so here is Pizarro with his helmet on and his sword. He's claiming the Inca are finished, and there's poor Atahualpa signifying the death of the Incan Empire. So the significance of these Spanish conquistadors, they were able to claim by military power all of these American colonies, and the real bounty of what they would gain is a massive trade boom for the Spanish, and then kind of a monopoly on Latin America for the Spanish, and in part by the Portuguese, but to a much smaller extent. And they were able to then kind of set up these colonies and begin this new era in American history. And we'll look in our next unit about how difficult it was for the Spanish to control these colonies. And we'll look also a little bit at what these ended up looking like and how they differed from some of the colonies that were set up elsewhere. So in the meantime, be awesome YouTubers, and I will see you again soon.